All right, welcome everyone to our 2021 Pacific Islands Region Climate Emergency Workshop, day one of our 3-day workshop. We're so happy that you guys are here with us. My name is Leon, and I'll be introducing the rest of my colleagues at NOAA shortly. But I do want to just welcome all of you here, and thank you so much for spending your time with us. I know a lot of you are super busy throughout the summer, so to spend 3 days with us really means a lot, and we'll try to make it worthwhile for you guys for sure. And so hopefully as you came in, you saw some of those yearbook slides. Thank you so much for populating those, showing your favorite coastlines, your inspiration. So as I said earlier, if you have any insights or any of your discoveries that came from that, feel free to type that in the chat. There's some really neat things that I noticed of similar coastlines that I had in common with people. So feel free to make those connections and go back to those yearbook slides later on. There's still time to do them during and after this workshop. So welcome everyone, wherever you are coming from. Tirao, is that how you say it? Marie should probably say this more appropriate than I do. Hafade, aloha, and talofa. And some of you I know are joining us from outside the Pacific Islands region. We have a few people perhaps. So if you are joining us from outside, feel free to type your name and where you're joining us from in the chat. And you can also, if there's any greeting that you have that applies to your location, feel free to type that in as well. So thank you so much. This is really an amazing opportunity that we're able to come together like this, being 4,000 plus miles apart in some sense, 4 time zones, 5 time zones away from each other. It's really neat that technology can bring us together in this way. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce the team. We'll start with the top left, and then we can go around the horn, and you guys can just say a few words about yourself.
I'm Manoa, everybody. For everybody in Hawaii and American Samoa, it is July 14th here. So hello from the future. It's looking bright, it's looking beautiful. I'm very excited to get to talk and learn from colleagues in American Samoa and Hawaii and CNMI. And Guam teachers, it's so nice to see you, and I can't wait to see you in person again soon. So thank you for your time.
Aloha kako, Celeste Hanley joining you from Mokuleia, although normally I'm in Hawaii. Although normally I'm at the IRC Manoa Regional Center in Honolulu, and it's just so nice to see all of you joining us this summer. We're really honored to have you here. So thanks for joining us.
And hello everyone. Again, I'm Leon Geschwin. I'm at the Manoa Regional Center. I'm in Kaka'ako right now in Honolulu. And yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. It's great to see so many faces here.
Aloha everyone. Sorry, I was watching the admit room. My name is Justin, and I am so thrilled to be able to interact with teachers again. I work at a Discovery Center and haven't been able to be there for about a year plus. I know a lot of us are in that situation. So thank you so much for joining this workshop today. And I am in Hilo, in the Moku of South Hilo, originally from Sonoma County, which is the ancestral homes of the Miwok, Wapo, and Pomo people. So really happy to be here with you all.
All right. And is Belle here?
She is just wrapping up a meeting. She could not leave, so I think she'll be here shortly.
Okay. We can, if it's okay, we can come back to Belle maybe at that point and have her introduce herself. So just quickly, I know a lot of you may be familiar with Zoom. At NOAA, we actually don't use Zoom very much, so this was a good refresher for me. So there are a couple of things we'd love for you to do, just so we can kind of get people in terms of where they're from, and it might be easier for breakout rooms especially. You can click on your participant button, and if you right click or click on your name, you should be able to rename yourself. So you can rename from where you are and your name. And if you have any preferred pronouns, you can type those in as well. So that's one bit of housekeeping that might help in terms of breakout rooms, and also people just knowing where people are from. Might be kind of neat. People are probably familiar with chat. If you don't see the chat button open, you can go ahead and click that on your console, and you can ask any questions or interact with each other. I think most people are aware of that. I am going to turn on subtitles. So if anyone wants to use subtitles. Actually, I might not have it in this version here, so we can, we might skip that for now. I'll see if I can get that going in a little bit. And then finally, this is a slightly different version of Zoom. Do you guys see any interactive? I don't think I see any of the reaction icons too. So I switched versions of Zoom recently, but if you can just throughout the presentation, you know, it's sometimes difficult and you're speaking into the void. So if we can hear anything from chat or any kind of feedback, that would be super, super helpful. That would be great in terms of moving it forward and keeping you engaged. So just very quickly, some guiding principles of interaction in terms of how we're going to communicate to each other, how we're going to set the tone throughout today. This is actually from Climate Generation, one of our partners. They are a nonprofit that's really dedicated to looking at climate education, youth leadership, community engagement. They're based out of Minnesota, but they're a partner in this, and they're doing a national level climate education conference that's happening a little bit later in the month. But if anyone has any things to add on to these interactions, I'll just give you about 10 seconds to read those through.
And Leon, while that's happening, I believe Belle is in. We were having a little waiting room issue.
Terrific. Belle, do you want to, I'll go back to your slide quickly and you can go ahead and introduce yourself. Go for it, Belle.
I could be wrong. Maybe she dropped off again.
No problem. So when she comes back on, she can just jump on and give a quick intro. Does anyone have any other items to add to this list in terms of how we interact today?
Maybe just the reminder to mute when you're not speaking.
Thank you for that very, very practical reminder. Yes, that is the hardest thing in Zoom calls to remember, or any kind of video conference. Remember to mute when you're not speaking, and when you're trying to speak, remember to unmute yourself. That's probably the best advice that happens in all these platforms. Thanks for that reminder. It's awesome. Okay,
Yeah,
I think
here, so people are doing yard work.
Yeah. All right. So I think without further ado, I am going to turn it over to, is Belle on yet, or should we maybe skip? She's having technical difficulties. Okay. Why don't we, if it's okay with everyone, we can, is Sefa, because Sefa was going to do it for Belle. Is Sefa on? Do you see any of my backup here, Justin or Marie, Celeste? If not, we can come back to them.
We just got Belle in.
Okay.
She should be showing up. Sorry,
Thank
folks,
you.
the challenges of coming in from across the world.
Yeah. This is definitely, it's amazing that we're all here, right? You know. Are you there, Belle? Oh, I see her on there. Well,
hi, can you hear me?
yes, we can. All right.
Have we started yet or not yet?
Yeah, we started. We did quick intros. I'll show, I don't know if your video is working, but I'll show a picture of you real fast. So there's Belle right here. Do you want to give just a quick hello, and then we can jump into opening protocol for American Samoa? Oh, I can see you. Terrific.
Hi, everyone. Talofa Isabel Ngātiote Halatuituia with the National Marine Sanctuary of American Samoa. Happy to be here.
All right, Belle. So I think we went through some of the opening segments. We're ready for your segment if you're good to go. Oh no. Are you there, Belle?
Yeah, Sifa is trying to log in. Do you guys
Okay.
see him?
I don't see him yet. If it's okay, can we maybe move on to, I think Maria's next, and then we
Sure.
come back to you. Is that all right? Okay. Thank you everyone for your patience as we navigate this here. All right, go for it, Marie. And
Thanks. So on behalf of the Mariana Islands, I'm really grateful to those who have stepped in to help with just opening the workshop. So Mr. Isap is with the CNMI public school system, and then we'll have Senorita Canilas and then Muñeca de Oro. So Mr. Isap, if you'd like to just go ahead and say a couple of words, we really appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. From the hearts and energy of the Commonwealth of the Northern Marianas Islands, Gininigatbu na Islas Marianas, Valiu Marianas, Hafades and Tiro. Hello, educators, stakeholders, leaders, and to our beautiful children. We are fully present in mind, spirit, and action to give a sustainable Pacific life. We are all with you during time of joy and time of challenge. Continue to share love and knowledge, the greatest gifts we can give ourselves and one another. Brothers and sisters, hutunahau, ay mareti, tonkulu sizusmasi zan giliso. Thank you.
Sizus Ma'asi, I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. And Senorita Canilas, I know that you are in Saipan. Would you like to go ahead and start?
Testing, can everyone hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Hafidez and saludo, olamai metiro wami. My name is Senorita Quinilis. I am a CCLHS instructor from Oleai Elementary School. CCLHS is Chamorro Carolinian Language Heritage Studies. And I just like to recite, open this by reciting our national anthem, which is fitting for what I teach my students. I'll just read it out and I'll translate it. The national anthem is called Gitalo Giholam Tosi sa Timang Pacifico, meaning in the middle of the sea. In Chamorro, it would be Gitalo Giholam Tosi Nagagi Itanahu Azunay Sempre Husaga Malagohu Zaundia by Huhanao by Fatu Hautalo Tisinya Hao Undingo Otanohu Meet beses zan mas who saluda hao. Godbo na Islas Marianas who tuno hao. In Refalawash or Carolinian, Satil Matawal Pacifico. Iailo falue ye ihila ia ebwe lotil tipio ie elran nye iwe mwese Spencer, sorry. Iwe mwete sangi nye ibwa cephality ese mwebwe iwe iligiti bwe falue. Sangras fal bual aitiro nalu ligachu tel falu Marianas I mweweriti. Translating in English, in the middle of the sea is where my home is. That is where I'll spend my days. It is my desire. If I ever leave this place, one day I will return, for I can never leave you, O land of mine. 1,000 times and more, I will honor and salute you, O beautiful islands of the Marianas. Glory be to you. Sanamasi Hilisoremi.
Sitismaasi. Wow, it's been such a long time since I've heard Carolinian or Palawash, and so I really love hearing it. So thank you so much for doing that. I really appreciate it. Okay, and Monyaka from Tinian. Tau Tau Guahan, Tinian.
Hey, everybody. Guahusi Manyaka Dioro, Ganani Islas Guahan Lo, Zahu Toru Islas Marianas. I work with the Micronesia Climate Change Alliance, and we do a lot to raise awareness and build community solutions around the climate crisis throughout Micronesia. And I'm here in the Northern Marianas doing some really beautiful work around with elders around ceremony and prayer in hopes to cultivate a prayerful journey for our islands in the next year. I'm also coming with an organization called 500 Sails, which is reviving navigational ancestry, along with Carolinian elders and seafarers. And just this past weekend, we had the first contingent of traditional sails compete in the fishing derby in Saipan. And my son and was able to sail from Saipan to Tinian with 500 Sails, where they're conducting a camp. And navigation is something we share throughout the Pacific. It's something all our ancestors had deep knowledge of the ocean, of the winds, of the stars, of the sea animals, of the birds, to help navigate and push our way forward to our island homes. So what I want to offer as an opening today is a chant honoring those journeys, and a prayer as well for us as educators to help these future navigators of our students to really be able to hone their skills, to lean into our ancestral wisdoms, and to really cultivate stewardship for our natural resources as we move forward with all the challenges that the climate crisis will bring our islands, most especially. So this chant is from the Oral History Project, Ifan the Lion, and it's called Tumotogi Ilahi. Ginin lagu naman matu, hugi zaina fuluna laza. Man momoknu itamun gitasi, fanenga isagwaganya, fanenga imagaga, fanenga zan fangekungu. Fange kunguki katin kulu, samahan etnun iman yahaina, samahan etnun iman yahaina. Tumotogi gilahi maten guma. Hui. Susmasi.
Situsmaasi Monyaka. Hoi.
All right. Testing. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we
Sound
can.
great, Sepa.
Okay. All right. Talofa, everybody. My name is Joseph Asiatu. I am the Fiscal Admin Assistant here at the National Marine Sanctuary of American Samoa. Again, thank you for having us here. And in the Samoan culture, for any event, any meeting, we always start with the Lord. So I'm going to start us off with a hymn and then a short prayer in Samoan. Whaawhetai I le atua le nata tō tupu ai I nā wā nā lofa fua ya te tato umane ya pepe se ya pepe se alelu ya whawhetai ya pepe se ya pepe se Alleluia, whaawhetai. Let us pray. No matut mai di lang. Ibi ielo o fio e totasi langi a tōman lang. Whaftailo o lofa sitsi ese de ne yaso whai no matou whatasi mai ai lalo ne ne mauta. Whaftai foi ona wa mawale ne av no matou tveloa iai na iwo mai atu no mau. A maise ne au whainga duenga manu. Wala watu I a nganga o lau fio, I mafuta mai o mātou tano no ina ni mta upu, a wale alualu I luma o ne matanga luenga. I mātou mawale whamaoni, whai ai pēlo whine ngalo. Saus taime a mātou mwai, I mwai a tāwita mi una tana. Mafuta mai lo nganga I mātou uma. O te talo ni nema leo lenga, e ala tu lava I swafa Yesu Keriso, wala tu aina ni te talo. Amen. Thank you.
Aloha kako. I'm truly honored to introduce our Hawaiian protocol for today. This is with support from Malia Evans from the Moku Papapa Discovery Center in our Noa Ohana over there on Hawai'i Islands. And today we ask you to reflect and think about your family and the historical challenges, opportunities, and triumphs that have occurred over the generations. We're all here today because we are descendants of ancestors who survived. And so today we'll chant Na Aumakua. It's an oli or chant used to ask for protection or for spiritual clearance and requesting guidance from our kupuna or ancestors. And so today we actually ask you to choose an ancestor or even someone you admire who has passed. I know a lot of you folks have prepared something for the yearbook slides. Perhaps that's the person you want to keep in mind today as we do this oli. And there will actually be a special place in the chants where you'll be speaking the name of your ancestor or special person around 20 seconds in. By chanting this oli, it shows respect for what has come before us and opens a spiritual connection across time and space. And in the Hawaiian worldview, life did not end in death. Oftentimes, kupuna or ancestors would return to this world as guardians for future generations, as aumakua or guardians. These ancestors would come in the form of familiar terrestrial or marine animals. So each family is said to have one or two particular animal forms that it would be associated with. And there is a strong belief that whenever you need your aumakua, all you need to do is call them and they will come. So this oli asks the many aumakua to come and take care of their descendants. So we'll hear a recorded version of the oli and we'll repeat it 3 times. So if you know it, please feel free to chant along on mute, or hopefully you'll feel comfortable giving it a shot, even if you don't know it after hearing it a few times. And just remember to speak the names of your ancestor or special person as we get to about 20 seconds in.
Nā aumakua mai ka la hiki a ka la kau mai ka hoku I a ka halawai. Nā aumakua I a ka hina kua I a ka hina alo I a ka akau kalani. O ki hai kalani, o wei kalani, nunului kalani, ka holoi kalani. Eia ka pula pula ao. E mālama o ko ia mā kou. Eului kalani, e ulu I ka honua, e ulu I ka pae aina o Hawai'i. E ho mai kaike, e ho mai kai kaika, e ho mai ke aka mai, e ho mai ka mau pupupono, e ho mai ka ike pāpālua, e ho mai ka mana. Nā au mākua mai ka lahi ki a ka lākau mai ka hoku I a ka halawai. Nā au mākua I a ka hina kua I a ka hina alo I a ka akau kalani. O ki hai kalani, o wei kalani, nulu I kalani, ka holo I kalani. Eia ka pula a o e mālama o kou ia mākou. Ulu I kalani, e ulu I ka honua, e ulu I ka pae aina o Hawai'i. E ho mai kaike, e ho mai kai kaika, e ho mai ke aka mai, e ho mai ka mau pupupono, e ho mai ka ike pāpālua, e ho mai ka mana. Nā au mākua mai ka lahi ki a ka lākau mai ka hoku I a ka halawai. Nā au mākua I a ka hina kua I a ka hina alo I a ka akau kalani. O ki hai kalani, o wei kalani, nulu I kalani, ka holo I kalani. Eia ka pula a o e mālama o kou ia mākou. Ulu I kalani, e ulu I ka honua, e ulu I ka pae aina o Hawai'i. E ho mai kaike, e ho mai kai kaika, e ho mai ke aka mai, e ho mai ka mau pupupono, e ho mai ka ike pāpālua, e ho mai ka mana.
So mahalo to all of you for calling on your aumakua today. And we hope that you'll keep your ancestor special person with you throughout this journey and our workshop this week. So with that, I'll turn it over to Justin. Mahalo.
Great. And Malia also sends her aloha. She had family obligations, was not able to participate. She has an incredible presence as well. So hopefully in the future we can have her join us. So I'm just going to take a minute to share a little bit about who's here today, and we'll have plenty of opportunities to share amongst each other as well. Can I just double check that you can see and hear me, because I think my internet is a little slow.
Yes, we can, Justin, you're good.
Oh, okay, great. So we had a humbling amount of teachers from across the Pacific registered for this event, and out of more than 100 people who expressed interest, we have about 50 folks with us today. And you can see in this graph that it's a very great balance amongst the different regions of the Pacific. So again, thank you for everyone for taking so much time to join us. And also welcome to our members, our teachers, educators from the United Kingdom and the Republic of Marshall Islands and Palau as well. And I believe Maryland, if I remember correctly, in the United States. So let's move to the next slide. So if you remember in that first registration, we asked you a few questions. And so I put that into a word cloud of sorts. This one reflects some of the most common hopes for this workshop. So just wanted to give you a minute to take a look at it. And as an educator, I will admit that that weird sentence on the left does bother me as well, but it's the way that it set it up for us. I think you can see some common themes here. Okay, Leon, go ahead and move to the next one. And this is a little bit thicker here, but this was a list of some of the challenges to teaching about climate change, our focus today. And as you can see, making it relevant to students, localizing the lessons, making it culturally relevant, as well as having data that is really based in your area, and having projects you can engage your students on. All of those came out a lot across the board. But again, please take a moment to take a look at what else showed up. There's a lot of similar statements in here. And so we're going to do our best to work together as a whole hui or whole group together to help each other face these challenges. We're definitely not the ones with all of the answers. So we're really honored to have you all here because I know there's people doing incredible work in your communities, and we hope to also bring that out and share that across the Pacific Islands as well. So I think I'll stop here, and we will definitely be talking a lot more about all of these. Thank you. Mahalo.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Justin. So for our next segment, we're going to have Nicole. Is Nicole's here? I'm gonna just make sure she's here. Okay, terrific. So we're really, really honored to have Nicole. She speaking to us, Nicole Yamase. You can read her bio up on the screen, and you might have heard of her exploits in terms of going to Challenger Deep. But what we really invited her here for, to not just talk about that experience, but mainly talk about her connection to climate, her connection to place, and really have a discussion with you in terms of her hopes and her dreams in terms of climate looking to the future. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Nicole. And if people have questions along the way, feel free to type them in chat and have this be an engaging conversation. Go for it, Nicole.
I need access to share screen, please.
Oh, yes, that is helpful, huh? Okay. All right, I will stop my share screen and you should be able to share yours.
Okay, can everybody see that? Okay.
Looks great.
Thank you. Kasalelia Manko, Aranane Mabi Medicine Tiro. Before I begin, I just want to thank Climate Gen and Noah, Leon and his team for allowing me to deliver the keynote today for the teachers workshop. I also want to thank all of you, each and every one of you, our teachers, our educators, because you are the light in our children's lives. So thank you, thank you. You all are the real MVPs, and I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for my teachers as well. So to begin, today I'll be sharing with you my journey as a Micronesian. My talk is broken down into 4 sections. One is preparing the canoe, my academic journey from high school to graduate school, and how be preparing my canoe for this crazy voyage that I went on this past March to the Challenger Deep, and thirdly, how I embraced my voyage through honoring my heritage as a Pacific Islander, and lastly, aligning the stars. And when I say stars, I mean aligning my values, goals, and actions. To begin, I was born in Pohnpei, which is one of the island states that makes up the Federated States of Micronesia. Growing up, I also got to spend time on other islands in the Micronesia region, such as Saipan, Palau, and Chuuk as well. And so I've been very lucky and blessed to have a childhood filled with ocean memories of snorkeling with my dad in our crystal clear waters and really witnessing our beautiful, rich marine biodiversity. You know, at that time, I took advantage of that. I took it for granted, and I didn't understand what our diversity, the role was in our world. But it was from those beautiful moments of snorkeling with my dad that really triggered my passion for the ocean. Fast forwarding to my high school, I went to Xavier High School in Chuuk, which is located on Mabuchi Hill. And this was my view from school every single day. I get to see the outer islands, the ocean, our reefs, and the mountains all around us. You can stand anywhere on Xavier High School, and this is the view you would get. Xavier High School was the first place where I learned of climate change, what was happening to our oceans and on our land. And, paired with this view, I had the urge to take care of this. And so at this point, I knew I wanted to go into environmental studies, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to pursue the marine route or terrestrial route. So after graduating from high school, I attended Chaminade University of Honolulu. This is where I got to explore summer internships. One of my first summer internship was at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. And this summer, I looked at ornamental fish trade, or fish that were collected for aquariums. And so this is a picture of me and my summer mentor, Dr. Gail Grabowski, and my field partner, Eva Sala from American Samoa. This is us doing fish counts in Kaneohe Bay. So like I said, I wasn't sure if I wanted to do marine or terrestrial. So this was my first time really being exposed to the ocean, carrying out the whole scientific process. So the next summer I was like, okay, I got a taste of the ocean. Now it's time to do something different. So the next summer, I went to Costa Rica to be a part of the Native American and Pacific Islander research experience. So 10 weeks out in the jungle, lush tropical rainforest, studying frogs. So very different than being in the ocean. After these 2 summer internships, this is when I said, okay, now that I have experience in both marine terrestrial, what makes me happy? And, it was obvious that the ocean is what made me happiest, and that's where my heart belonged. So this is where my interest started to narrow down to marine biology. The next summer, I went to the University of Miami and studied macroalgae, or limu. Limu is seaweed in Hawaiian. So this is where it all began, my love for limu. I looked at 2 different species in Biscayne Bay, Anadiamene, and looked at how their growth was influenced by different levels of, nutrients and salinity. Sorry, it was so long ago. But from this summer, I was so curious to learn more about limu. So I asked myself, how do I take this research and bring it back to Hawaii? So the next summer, I returned back to my first summer internship at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. And my summer mentor at that time was Dr. Celia Smith in the botany department. So she told me, we have a first cousin of Anadiamene here in Hawaii, a native green macroalga called Microdictyon sicilianum. So I was like, oh, perfect. Okay, great. So that's like a relationship between, I can relate it to what I did in Miami. And so that's what I did. This summer, I spent a lot of time out at the Anuenue Fisheries Research Center, where we have access to open flowing outdoor seawater system. And so this summer, I spent a lot of time looking at how nutrients and different light levels affected the growth and photosynthesis of Microdictyon. So like I said, this summer, my summer mentor, this was my last summer as an undergrad, and Dr. Celia Smith, pictured here, she was my summer mentor. Currently, she is my graduate chair advisor for the PhD Marine Bio grad program. So I just want to show that, all the experiences that I went through as an undergrad, this really helped me build the foundation that I needed to be a competent student for graduate school. And not only did it help me build my foundation that I needed as a young scientist, but also networking with professors, teachers all across different institutions. And also I got to meet other young Pacific Islanders who also shared the same passion as me. But all these experiences, really, it was me preparing my canoe that I didn't know I was gonna take on a voyage. So I just want to say, sometimes in life we ask ourselves, like, what are we doing? Like, I ask myself so many times, like, what am I doing with my life? I've been in school for so long, but really at the end of it, there's something big waiting for us. So all this time, I've been preparing my canoe for a voyage that I never thought that would ever cross my path. And it was the voyage to the Challenger Deep. A little bit of background, the Challenger Deep is the deepest part of the ocean in the world. It has a depth of 10,925 meters or 36,000 feet. The Challenger Deep is located at the southern end of the Mariana Trench, which falls into FSM's exclusive economic zone. So the red star symbolizes where Victor Vescovo and I dove. This dive made me the first Pacific Islander, fourth woman, and 20th person to go down. In total, 22 people have been to the Challenger Deep. So I was so honored to be selected to represent my country, the Faroe States of Micronesia, but also represent us as a whole, as a Pacific Islander community. Let's see. Okay, so going into the goals of the Challenger Deep, one is mapping. Currently, only 20% of the ocean seafloor is mapped. Can you imagine what the rest of the 80% look like? And the research vessel that we went on, the DSSV pressure drop, it's equipped with a multi-beam sonar that shoots acoustic waves down to the bottom of the ocean, and that hits the surface and comes back up. With that feedback, the crew is able to produce these high definition topography maps that you can see here. So this is part of the Mariana Trench, and in purple, that's where Victor and I went down. So mapping, very, very important for us to continue to understand and visualize what the depths down there look like. Next is collecting data. So these three here are the landers that were on the research vessel. Collecting data for us that's so important for us to understand the characteristics down there, the temperature, conductivity. It's also equipped with devices that allow us to collect sediment samples, water samples, and also cameras that are able to record the amazing species that are down there, which is the next goal, new discoveries. Victor Vescovo and his team are still discovering new species till this day. On their 5 Deep expedition, they've discovered over 40 new species. And this is just a few of the species that they've discovered: a grenadier, cusk eel, which I believe is the deepest diving fish. This is in the Mariana Trench at 5,800 meters. And this is Dumbo, which is the deepest diving octopus in the Java Trench. So pretty cool stuff. And like I said, Victor Vescovo and his crew, his work and the efforts that they do is so important for us because, we cannot properly manage things that we don't know, things that we don't understand. Finally, the final goal is to promote STEM and local scientists. This is a picture of me and Dr. Deo Onda, who's the first Filipino to reach the 3rd deepest part of the ocean in the world, Emden Deep in the Philippines Trench. So it's such an honor to bump into him before I left ship. And we're so grateful to Victor for allowing us to be a part of history, but also, giving us this platform to promote STEM and to encourage and inspire young people to pursue these fields. So this voyage, I still processing, still can't believe that it happened because I was only in Guam for 1 week. So I'll just walk you through it real quick. This is me on United, making sure that I went through all COVID safety protocols, wearing double mask, had my hand sanitizer, didn't accept food that was, prepackaged. And then as soon as I landed, I was transported to the DSSV pressure drop, which is the research vessel. So this is a 224-foot vessel that's equipped with everything. It was like a floating restaurant. It had a gym. It had spacious decks that housed the limiting factor, the boats. It also had many cabins, even a little gym, which I didn't use. But very impressive ship. This is the limiting factor that I went on. This is the first and only certified submersible that's able to go down to any ocean depth multiple times. So as you can see, definitely not for the faint-hearted, not for the claustrophobic. That was the first question Victor asked me, if I was claustrophobic. And honestly, I've never been in a tiny space before, but I said, no, I'm not claustrophobic. And I was like, okay, there's only one way to find out. But I was okay. Everything worked out great. So it's a two-seater. I was sitting here and Victor Vescovo was on the right side. So very small, but still spacious than the amount of space I'd get on an airplane. Can't complain. This is the suit they gave me. So this was the night before. I thought this was funny because the first time I put the suit on, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so big. But it also reminded me of the common starfish we have back home, Linkia. And what we believe back home is like, if you pick up the starfish and throw it, it's going to start raining. So that's just one of our little superstitious beliefs. But yeah, this is what I look like before I went on the limiting factor. This is the morning of the launch. So this is me entering the limiting factor. Victor Vescovo is already inside waiting for me. This is a picture of what it looks like inside. So these are all the oxygen tanks, all the controls, our screens where we got to watch movies on the way up. Yeah, so pretty exciting moment. Went by pretty quick. This is Victor and I at the bottom of the Challenger Deep. So it took us, the whole trip took a total of 10 hours. So it was 4 hours on the way down, 2 hours exploring the seafloor, and then another 4 hours back up. So, you know, this moment was so, I don't know how to describe it. It was just such a significant moment, not only for myself, but for the whole Pacific Island community, you know, being in an area where, you know, like only 22 people have been to, and being the eyes, being the person to go down and represent everybody and to come back up and share the information. So it was such an honor to be at the bottom of the Challenger Deep. This is what it looked like. I honestly felt like I was in Star Wars. It was like we were on a whole new planet. It looked like a desert underwater. We didn't see any life down there, but I always say it doesn't mean that there's, you know, it's dead down there. Previous dives have brought back sediment samples, rock samples, and they have found thriving bacterial communities. So there is life down there. Embracing the voyage. So I asked myself, you know, who am I representing, and what does this trip mean to me? So I identify as a Micronesian, and, you know, me going to represent the Federated States of Micronesia and my whole island heritage. I tried my best to represent my culture, my ancestry, my family, and my community. Honoring our ancestors. So one of the objects that I brought down was my dad's wooden canoe. My dad, so this canoe really represented a lot for me. It represented my dad, who was the first person to really inspire me to go into marine biology. It also represented my mother, who is the Micronesian. So it represented that side of my family. And then it also represented my ancestry, being a descendant of navigators. This is a picture of Papa Mau Piailug, who is from the outer island of Yap called Satawal in the Federated States of Micronesia. In 1976, he came to Hawaii and successfully navigated the Hokulea to Tahiti. And this trip proved to the world that our ancestors knew what they were doing, because they were doubters. He proved that our ancestors knew how to read the ocean, the stars, the wind, you know, the birds. And so I am so thankful for him and what he's done for all of us and our ancestors before him as well. In this right photo, this is Papa Mau and Native Hawaiian Nainoa Thompson, who is currently the president of the Polynesian Voyaging Society. And so I'm also so thankful to Nainoa, who's continuing on Papa Mau's legacy through PVS. I also want to acknowledge some of my role models. So I brought down a few pictures with me. This is a photo of Dr. Isabella Abbott, who was the first Native Hawaiian to receive a PhD in science. She has contributed so much. She was also known as the First Lady of Limu. The next picture is of Dr. Roy Suda, who has also contributed significantly to the understanding of macroalgae and seagrasses across Micronesia. And I've used a lot of his work for my dissertation. So I wanted to bring both of their photos to acknowledge and thank them for their work that they've done. Moving on, aligning the stars. So now we'll be talking about values, goals, and actions. First off, I value family, and family could be blood, or it could be your, this is my lab family. So family, it's so important to have this support system, positive support system that will be there for you no matter what. So it can be your students, your teachers, your colleagues. So always have that. Always be surrounded by people who will always lift you up, provide encouragement. Next is education. I'm still in school. I'm really trying to graduate soon. And really as a student now, the best that I can do is to graduate and do the best that I can so that I can be a part of organizations to help protect and manage our reefs. And my dad always said, education is the key that will open many doors of opportunities, and he was not wrong. The ocean, this is an obvious one. As a Pacific Islander, the ocean is a part of our identity, and who would we be without the ocean? Goals is to bring awareness to environmental issues such as pollution. So when I was down at the bottom of the Challenger Deep, I saw marine debris. I don't know if you guys can see it here, but this is rope. This is plastic rope that's lying there on the seafloor. And it was such an eye-opening experience and disappointing as well to know that there's trash at the bottom of the deepest part of the ocean, which is it's just a wake-up call for us to really take responsibility in making sure that what we do on land is not affecting what's happening at the bottom, because everything is connected. Climate change awareness. So I'm from Pohnpei, Enchuk in the First States of Micronesia, and I would go home. I try to go home every summer, and I would see these changes just with, ocean, the sea surface temperature increasing. Like what was once vibrant reefs are now dead rubble. So seeing these changes is so alarming. And even with extreme El Nino seasons, we have our reefs. This is a reef being exposed for over a long period of time, and you can already see the effects of that on our corals. So with this, bringing our youth into this, a way for us to bring climate change awareness to our youth is to get them outside. It's so different than teaching about climate change in the classroom, but once they see it and once they, it's part of their reality, this is going to hit home for them. And we need to pull on their little heartstrings to help them, answer the question, why should I care? And so try and get them to, connect, the ocean with their grandparents if they've went outside collecting limu or looking at critters. And so, also by breaking down science into little pieces where they can understand it, learning how to communicate science from young children to adults, and really tying that into culture as well, because like I said, the ocean is part of our identity, and who would we be without the ocean? And without the ocean, we're not able to practice our traditions and so if we're not able to do that, then who are we? Some of goals is to also educate. So these are just a few pictures of the students that I talked to. I think it's so important to be that role model for our kids, which I'm sure all of you guys are doing already, just to inspire, motivate them. And, what we say at Xavier High School is to go out and set the world on fire. Of course, not literally, but, for us to be that spark, to light that spark in them so that they could, continue to feed that fire and pass on the torch to others and those around them. So providing hope, being positive and optimistic for our youth, and being, like I said, for us to be their role models, local role models, for them to see themselves in us makes such a huge difference. Another action is, my research. Marine plants is something that we don't automatically think about when we think about the ocean. And when I came to Hawaii, the love for limu here is so strong that, it's something that we lack back home, what I've noticed in the FSM, and that's something that I want to bring back home with me after graduation. But through my research, I am looking at I'm just providing the baseline information like growth and photosynthetic rates. There's so many of our native marine plants that lack these baseline information. And so we need to provide that in order to continue to understand what's going on. How are they going to respond to their changing environments? Another action is to speak to our leaders. This is a picture of me and another young Pacific leader, Yolanda Joab, speaking to our president. So I think this picture is really powerful to show that leaders at such a high position are able to take the time and listen to us, especially also as young female leaders in our region. And to also show the kids that we have a voice and that there are leaders out there or elders out there who want to listen to us and who want to listen to our concerns and help us move forward in a future that we want to see. And so I'm going to end with this picture as we navigate forward with the future that we want for our youth, for the future generations, while always remembering what our ancestors have done and been through for us to be here today. And I hope that we can all work collectively in finding solutions on how to, bring climate change awareness, bring all these environmental issues and tackle them together as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nicole, for those very inspiring words for sure. Does anyone have any questions for Nicole? You can feel free to type them in your chat. I saw a number of, I don't know if you were able to check out some of the chat and some of the comments that came through. I think mainly just recognition of the awesome work that you're doing, the inspiring work, your amazing journey. Jay did ask, will you be visiting Guam in the future? Was one question that came up. But does anyone else have any questions? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask too. Hey, well, one question while we wait maybe for questions to kind of trickle in. So how has the experience in terms of the Challenger deep dive sort of, not necessarily maybe affected your trajectory of your career, but maybe has it turned it in a little bit way, kind of turning the bow of the ship a little bit, or how has it, like, what are your insights afterwards that you're thinking of going on that you didn't think of before?
Yeah, good question. So so as you saw, my research is all shallow marine life, macroalgae. And so after this expedition to the Challenger Deep, I'm very lucky to be one of the few to say that I've seen the ocean all the way from the shallows all the way down to the deep. And I can say that everything is connected. Even with my work, I didn't even really give a thought into it until I went on this trip. Like, how am I going to relate my shallow macroalgae research to the deep? And so, macroalgae serves as the primary, the foundation of our food web. And with all macroalgae on top, when I was going down to the Challenger Deep, looking out the window, you would see these small, tiny white particles. It looked like it was snowing. And so I looked, this is marine snow. And what is marine snow? It's tiny organic material from the surface. And it's either debris, waste, or even like dead plants. So I was like, oh my goodness, macroalgae, our shallow marine ecosystems, are probably even a source of energy that's feeding these deep sea communities, which is really cool. Yeah, so my whole idea of everything is connected, it's just like, it's definitely solidified right there, because to make that connection is like eye-opening. So really everything, even from the top of the mountains, what we do, all the way down to the deepest part of the ocean, everything's connected.
That's great. What a great climate connection too. I mean, that's such a good segue. Any questions? I do see a question from Erica, and Erica is asking, what can I tell my high school students about preparing for college and graduate school?
Good question. I would love to make a workshop just for that. Really just, as for me as a Pacific Islander, I came out with a lot of cultural walls or cultural barriers of, not speaking, of not raising my hand and answering questions in class, sitting in the back of the classroom. Really, my advice to them is they just really need to push themselves out of their comfort zone. It'll take time. My summer internships, presenting at conferences, that's what really pushed me out of my comfort zone. Networking with people who are not Pacific Islanders, from other places in the world, learning about other, people, learning about people from other backgrounds. Really take advantage of all the opportunities that are available to us, because as Pacific Islanders, we bring diversity, and so many internships, that's what they want. As an undergrad, I've even had some internships say, are you interested in this internship? We will save spots for Pacific Islanders because we want you. There's so many opportunities out there for us, and they just have to know where to look. So take advantage of that. Like, after participate in all those summer internships, my siblings now say that I cannot be quiet, I cannot shut up. So really take advantage of all those opportunities. Network is your net worth, and that was something I learned from the Young Pacific Leaders Conference, and it's true. Your network is your net worth.
Thanks so much. Moneka, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Feel free to ask your question if you want, or Nicole, you can, I don't know if you see it in the chat. You're welcome to unmute yourself if you'd like to.
Please. It's so good to see you and always share space with you. Nicole and I, and actually with Carolyn Haro, who's another educator, have all shared space and time together in Fiji with Young Pacific Leaders, which she just mentioned. So my question is, we're all frontline communities on the climate crisis as Pacific Islanders, and how do you feel like we should cultivate our collective voice in holding richer nations like the US, who most of us are affiliated islands with, to take the climate crisis seriously, especially given the impacts that we will be experiencing, and our little contribution to the overall global carbon emissions. So yeah, that's the first part of my questions, is like, how do we cultivate a collective narrative around the role and responsibility of larger nations? And then the second question is like, what is your vision for Pacific Islanders in creating a movement of climate action and integrating that, like, that spirit of our ancestral ways of being that is inherently more regenerative and sustainable?
Hi, Monica. Thank you for those questions. For the first one, as Pacific Islanders, we have this intimate connection to the ocean, to the land, like nobody else. And with this narrative, we need to show the world how connected we are to these bigger nations, to show that without our resources, like, who are we? Like I said, the ocean is part of our identity. And if with climate change continue, how are we going to survive? How are we going to continue to be Pacific Island people? And so being part of these big meetings, being there, being present, voicing all of our concerns and sharing that internal intimate connection with what we have, that I think that's our strongest point. Like I said, even with our youth, to get them how to care is to pull at their heartstrings. everybody has connection to the ocean, but not like us. You know, how can we pull on the heartstrings of those bigger communities is the way to go. I guess like also like emotionally trying to get them in emotionally is another big challenge. So using our culture, using our connection, our ties, our intimate relationships, and being present at those meetings and making our voices even louder as a community, I think is so important for them to see that, you know, this is our home, this is us, this is who we are. What was your second question? Sorry.
I think you answered both of them.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
Yeah, please feel free to also jump in, share ideas as well.
Sorry, can I interject too? Mr. Guma Tau Tau is actually with his 8th grade students, and they have a question for you. So if you could just, on behalf of Mr. Guma Tau Tau students, could you let them know if you saw any squids?
I did not. So we have to understand, you know, the limiting factor is this big machine with propellers, so it's noisy, and we have bright lights on it. So there might have been squids in the area, but you know, we're in the deepest part of the ocean. The ocean is huge, and there's also no lights down there. So the lights may have scared the creatures away. I wish I saw a squid. I wish I saw something.
All right. Well, I think there might have been a couple of other questions, but maybe we can address those offline if that's okay with folks. But if we can all give a big virtual round of applause to Nicole. I think there might be some emoticons there. Thanks so much for your time, Nicole. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm going to go ahead and start up my slides again. And now we're going to get to do some breakout time. I know we're running a little bit behind schedule. So maybe in breakouts, you could have a couple of minute break there as we transition. But I'll bring up my slides and I'll turn it over to Marie, who's running the breakout session here. So give me 1 second. I can share my screen.
Thanks again, Nicole. I don't know if you could see, but Miss Carolyn, her video's been on this entire time, and she's like been smiling your entire presentation, and she just had the most amazing things to say about you and at your presentation for the students at JFK. So we were really looking forward to it. So thanks so much for being engaging. So we just, one of the things that I was just personally really excited about in being able to do a regional session is that we can really learn from each other. I've never been to American Samoa. I've only gotten to go to CNMI a couple of times, and I really feel like, you know, we share many, many things in common. So there are 3 things we'd like you to discuss. We've assigned you to breakout groups, and there are 3 things here that we would really like for you to be able to take the opportunity to ask each other as professionals. And you can see the questions here asking you how you're experiencing climate change right now, the topics and activities that really spark interest in your students, and then also discussing what's the #1 hope that you have for your students. And we have a Jamboard, and there's a facilitator in each group. Somebody in your group should be able to help you if you've never used Google Jamboard before. And I know that somebody's going to put a link as well to the Jamboard in the chat. And so you're going to be in groups about 4 or 5. And if we can go to the next slide. So you'll see that with the way that we've tried to do these breakout groups, so you can look for your name here, we've got 10 total. The way that we've tried to design these is that we wanted to have representatives from every island wherever possible. And we also have super group 10. So for those of you who maybe didn't fill out your confirmation form or have just decided to like come on in today, super cool. We love to have you. We're really excited to see you. So yeah, you're going to be super group 10. And so I hope that all of you have seen your names up here and that we are not going through them too quickly.
So I'm going to go ahead and open up the rooms. So I'll jump back and forth between these 2 slides, but we can also help move you if you're having problems. So you should see something that's going to pop up that says open all rooms, and then you can move yourself into the room that you're in, room corresponding to group here. And then, so that should be opened up. You should see that appear now. And we'll also paste the Jamboard links into the chat as well too. So you can see those questions.
And your teachers are meant to be resources for you as well. So we'll see you in about 10 or 12 minutes, right, Leon?
Yeah, before we do that, so do you have the Jamboard links handy?
If somebody can just go ahead and throw that in.
Justin, yeah, or someone can throw that in the chat. It'd be great.
And then the thing too is that for each Jamboard slide, it should have your first name as well, in case you missed it on the slide. Cool. Thank you very much, Celeste. Appreciate that.
Yeah, so you'll see, thanks, Celeste. As you open up, just people are familiar with it. That's a single link, and you can just go through to your group 1, group 2, you slide back and forth like this. Okay, so if everyone can go ahead and choose your rooms, we'll see how this works, but you should start moving into your rooms. And if not, we can go ahead and start moving some people. And we should be good. Let me go back to the, sorry, I should go back to the slide with everyone on it, right?
Hey, Leon, how does the sound work?
In Jam, you're just going to breakout rooms. So if everyone
So
can go ahead.
I can see the Jamboard, but I don't have a link for.
So if everyone sees those breakout rooms, you should see a little breakout room button at the bottom. Or you know what we can do? It might be easier to just split everyone randomly at this point. And I think that might shake its way out. Is that okay with people? Is everyone able to find theirs? This was a big experiment in terms of doing breakout rooms, but I see some people moving into rooms. Maybe the other co-facilitators can help move their people into their rooms.
Leon, would you mind going to the second slide?
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
It's hard to fit it on one slide here, yeah. So look for your names on there and you should be able to move to those rooms. And we'll have about 10 to 12 minutes just in breakouts.
I'm so sorry. I'm trying to click on my room and I'm not sure how to actually join it.
What room are you in?
I'm supposed to be in room 5.
Okay, I gotcha.
Thank you.
And if some of the other facilitators can help me with just moving people to rooms. So I'm going to go back again to the previous slide. We're getting there. And if you don't see your name on here, again, there's that super group 9 or 10. I think we're slowly moving, folks. Yeah. So if it's okay with folks, if you're having trouble, just let me know. Need group 7, Guam. Fuck. Okay.
Hey, I'm Maturo for group 7. I don't know how to get into there. If someone can help me, I'll just type it in here. Blue.
Yeah, so I'm assigning people to groups. You should be able to move. And I think for the rest of the folks, I think I will just sort of move you in, if that's okay. I'll just balance out the groups here. So you might find yourself transported somewhere, which is okay. See, I'm just trying to balance out groups here too. About 8 need some. Uh, 7. All right, I think we've moved everyone. All right. So anyone who's left in the main room, let me know if I can help you move at all. I'm going to be jumping around between different rooms for folks. Sorry, I know there are a couple of you still in the main room. If you want me to move you to any particular room, or if you're still there, I'm happy to move you into a breakout room. Just let me know. I don't know if maybe you've stepped away, but I'm happy to move folks if you want me to. Hey, Justin, should we start bringing folks back, I imagine, huh?
That's what we were figuring.
Yeah.
We finished up our piece.
Yeah, so I
good stuff. I'll definitely have to figure out a good way to share back. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying I'm closing the breakout room, so people should come back in about a minute.
A sixth grade teacher at, I'm so sorry. I'm a sixth grade teacher, science teacher at Tafu Elementary School in American Samoa. So far for the summer, I'm not teaching, but I am a regular science teacher during school time.
I think you're back in the main room. I don't know. Might have been in a breakout room and it might have kicked you out. Just FYI, you're back in the main room. That's okay.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
That's okay. No, we're
Sorry,
bringing everyone. We're bringing everybody back. So
okay.
you're perfect timing. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Woo, okay. That was fun. I met people who I was not expecting to meet.
Yeah, we tried to plan it and have geographic distribution, but you know, it's okay. I sort of evened out the groups and I think it turned out well. Hopefully you guys had some fruitful discussions. I know it's always too short in breakout rooms. That's always the feedback that we get, but hopefully you got a chance to at least to connect with one another and build a little bit of those relationships as we move forward into day 2 and 3. So I think do we have everybody back? I don't think so, right? Yeah, I think we're all back. So I'm going to go ahead and just briefly, I know we only have a few more minutes left. I'm going to share my screen again just to talk a little bit about process and kind of the plan going forward. So there are a couple of items. Let me just share my screen here. One is our website that we built. So we'll share this link with everyone afterwards and we'll put it in the chat here if someone can help me out. But this is sort of your one-stop shop for this workshop. So this is sort of the opening page. I'm just going to step you very quickly through each of the different sections. We have our agenda here, prep, what we did for day 1, a little breakdown of what's going to happen kind of in this self-directed period. We have a week off between now and our next day 2. And we did that on purpose so that you have some time to digest some of the climate science. And if you have a chance to meet with some of the people that you connected with today, that would be great as well too. So there's a little bit there that goes through that. I'm not going to go through that in too much detail because there's a section specifically that goes into that. There's about us if you want to know a little bit more about your fellow participants. So if you haven't got a chance to go through that yearbook thing, there's a little slideshow there. And you can also view and update your own slide if you didn't get a chance yet. So please do that. It's not too late to add your own slides to there. A little bit background on the facilitators for today. So there's Marie, Belle, myself, Celeste, Justin, and then also the guest speakers, Nicole, and then some of the other people who will be coming and speaking in day 2 and day 3 of the workshop. So we have experts both nationally and then local experts as well in corals and sea level rise that will be coming to speak to us. Another key part is you might have noticed the agenda, the exhibitors section. So on the last day of the workshop, which is day 3, which is the July 22nd in Hawaii and American Samoa, and July 23rd in Guam and CNMI, we have an exhibitor section, and I'll give you a separate breakout room link to go to there. So be on the lookout for that. But here's a chance for you to sort of peruse. We have 15 different organizations and institutions that do climate work in the community. We've divided it up by region, so you can see some that are applicable to the entire region. Give you some background on the climate resources that they have available, as well as I'll open up the actual spreadsheet. What grade it's targeted toward, a website, and additional resources. So this is sort of like your sampling menu, so you can see what types of exhibitors you might want to attend on that day 3. So that just gives you a flavor for that, and we'll send more information on that shortly. But in day 3, we'll have a chance to kind of rotate through. We'll have 1 hour, anywhere between, we're still trying to figure it out, 10 to 15 minute rotations. So 3 to 5 rotations in that time period where you can pick and visit climate organizations that are relevant to your area. And then I did skip a section, a very important section, the self-directed learning. So we've divided this up into the 4 different regions. And if you click on it, it's pretty easy to use. It gives you a little bit of background on terms of what to read. We're not asking for very much, 3 pages here, 4 pages here, but it'll give you a little bit of the climate science background and also some connections in terms of education. So we have a couple of Kahoot games. How many of you have played Kahoot in the classroom? Super popular. I see some hands going up. Terrific. So we have a little Kahoot game giving you an overview of data in the classroom, which is sort of our overarching curriculum that we have here. I'm not going to go into that in detail, but this is the quick site data in the classroom, and there's a lesson both on coral bleaching. We'll cover this in day 2, coral bleaching, and sea level. Those are the 2 modules that we will be covering during day 2 and day 3. And then so again, if you click on CNMI, it tells you what to read for that section. The read, the do, the 2 Kahoots in terms of the structure and a little bit of the science, and then some optional videos. It's not a heavy lift, so hopefully you get a chance to at least read those few pages and take a little Kahoot game. We can see how we do on day 2. And finally, under curriculum focus, you'll get a bit more information on the different resources that we will then cover in day 2 and day 3. So don't worry too much about this. You might just want to click on it to get a feeling for the types of thing that we'll cover for those of you who want to go ahead a little bit. And then finally, so we have one for coral bleaching. We have one for sea level rise, something similar as well too. And then the final piece we have is this continue the journey portion. So there's 3 sections to this. There's a calendar of events. So you can open this up and you can see what's coming up, not just our workshops, but other opportunities to engage, right? There's a, let's see, there's a book club, there's a virtual climate change trivia that Climate Gen is running. All these times are Hawaii Standard Time, just in terms of conversion. But you can see that. And if you guys know, we want this not just be us posting our information, but if you know of any events that are relevant to the Pacific Islands region, you can just invite this email address and it'll be added to this calendar. So it's a collective calendar that we can use to see what kind of climate stuff is going on throughout the region. A couple of other pieces here, some educator opportunities. You can browse through that. And then finally, some resources. There are some NOAA resources that we've collated for you here. And then there's also some resources here that are more external resources, and this is an editable document. So if you're coming across some information that you want to add and share with folks, you can open it up through here and add your resource directly to that link. So I know that's a whirlwind. I know we're slightly over time as well too. So I'll stop sharing my screen. I'm going to go ahead and type this that else has.
I did throw that into the chat for
Okay, cool.
our group here, Leon. And I did notice a few folks said they couldn't access some of the resources. So we'll just double check all of that as soon as we get out of this meeting to make sure everyone has access. We had to do a little transfer over to this new site.
Yeah, so please email us. We have all of our, you can type in, you can email me here or any of the other folks, and we'll be sure to allow access for any of those who haven't had a chance. So any quick questions on that? And then do please fill out your yearbook reminder if you haven't got a chance to do so. The link is right here. Any other things that I'm missing, team? Before we turn it over to Belle? I know that was very quick.
I know you said this, but I just want to kind of emphasize the coral bleaching and sea level rise modules in data and classroom are a lot. So we're not asking you to really dive in too deeply, but please do take the time to just familiarize yourself with kind of the structure of the websites and focus on the introduction and levels 1 through 3. You don't have to answer all the questions, but just so you have kind of a working understanding of how they're set up, and then we'll go much deeper in day 2. We just want to have a kind of a common ground to start with.
Thanks, Justin. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'll just show quickly. So levels 1, 2, and 3 are really just informational, and then 4 and 5 is really where you get into the exciting stuff in terms of designing your investigation. So we'll cover that in part 3 of our workshop. All right, I think we're running a 5 minutes over, but I do want to make sure we get a chance to turn it back over to Belle, who's going to do our closing. And do you want me to, I can leave this slide up or I can stop, Belle? Just let me know.
No, that's fine. So like Josefa mentioned in the beginning of any function or a gathering, usually we open up with a prayer and a little bit of hymn. And then also during the closing, we want to make sure that we send off all our participants off with the closing prayer, and hoping that everybody will continue to call in on our next meeting, or even fellowship prior to our next meeting dates. So without further ado, I'd like to pass over the time to Josefa, who's also known as a Samoan version of Jack Black or Maui. Josefa?
Thanks, Belle. All right. Well, as we say, we always start everything with the Lord and we end with the Lord. So that being said, I'm gonna close this off with a prayer. Le tuaila matutma, waftailo ulofa, waftailo ang lili, waftaimolo tefsinga malufa manyanga mai matou liasu. Le naulia maele neasu matango fia maua, matou whenga ia tuai foi fi amngat menga mone neasu. Le wai uman manuia matou whama moe mone neasu. Sa taimia matou taap matou foi atu matou a inga. Whale tu ia pui malu mai ati matou, whatasi mai pela o nganga paia mai matou. Ang sala melo sepe matou le tu alofa ia whamangano mai matou se matou ang sala. O te talo nei ma leo lenga. E sofa lava Yesu ke wisa o ala tuena ni te talo. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sefa. It's a great way to close. Just one quick housekeeping note before we let everyone go. I do want to, if you did not confirm your registration for the workshop, we do want to capture your information so that we can send you out the times and dates for the next workshop in case you're interested. So I've put something there in the chat. That's just a quick form. So if you happen to pop on, that's great. You know, I think this impromptu is wonderful, but we want to make sure that if you are willing and able to come to day 2 and day 3, you can go ahead and fill out that form that I put in the chat, and we can capture your info and send you out the updated Zoom information. All right.
Oh, and one last housekeeping privacy issue. We are not going to keep your yearbook slides up after this workshop. So this is internal, but we do ask that during this workshop you keep the website just amongst these participants. And then when we do share it beyond that, we'll pull that aspect down. So you don't have to worry about family images or anything like that.
Thank you, Justin. That's a good reminder. All right. Mahalo, everyone, for coming. And we hope to see you in day 2, which is next week, Wednesday or Thursday, depending on where you are, and we will be sure to send out that information if we get you on those forms. So appreciate everyone coming. Thank you for your time. Thank you for everyone's time. Appreciate it, everybody. Mahalo, take care.
So
Tied up.
And we're happy to stay on. If folks have any questions, we're more than happy to stay on and answer anything. So feel free to stick around for a bit too.